Here I lay, distraught, my final resting place. I can hear their footsteps in the background. My time is near, but before I go, I have one final duty. One thing, not for myself, not for my oppressors, but instead for the remembrance of myself, so that my legacy may carry on. Here, my last breath, I'll narrate my first round of the Jimothy Cool Tournament, the ADV Revival. And I hope that someday somebody revives me. But for now, my time is coming to an end. My Game 1 team. 6 Pokemon. A sample team from Star Master. I have not been building teams recently, and my teams are public, and I think this team is quite interesting. Something I would enjoy using. So ultimately, I decided to use it. And I don't really have much to choose from that it's not possible for my opponent to know. I mean, I could ask other people for teams. I got Dante's whole builder, but don't want to use that. Yeah, Game 1. Lead Salamence against Regice. This is quite the simplistic affair. I was going to say complicated, but I'm really just rambling off words. I want to get out of here, and my switch-ins are Blissey, Fortress, and Jirachi. Doesn't make sense to go into Arrow, take the damage with Tar to, Pursuit it afterwards, and reveal that I have a Pursuit Tar. It's not worth it. It'd be much more advantageous to just go out there and send in Blissey, and from here, very, very, very likely that they will switch out. If they don't, maybe they'll explode, maybe they'll Thunder Wave, which would cover a possible switch, possible mid-ground for me, and paralyze me if they want to go into something that might normally lose to Blissey, but with the paralysis can really threaten, force me out, and then gets potentially a good advantageous position if Blissey is my best counterplay. Yeah, so from here I pivot to Fori. Not going Fori immediately, avoids getting this paralyzed, frozen, avoids HP fire, and here they decide to switch out to Skarmory, which makes sense, and I would much rather have this in immediately than have Blissey in just to two-wave the Skarmory. Here I set up a layer of spikes. Arguably, I could perhaps rapid spin there. Just waste a PP, but probably not worth it, probably not the best, and it reveals I have spin, which, it depends on how I want to play the following sequence against Gengar, whether I want to reveal that. I mean, most for you have spin, but the little things that you keep in the back of your mind are really what ultimately drive the decision-making process. And if they were to be like, well, I don't know if they have spin, I mean, I'll just get up another spike as they go Gengar, maybe they'll Zap Cannon me or whatnot, just something to keep in mind. Here's a spike again, and with the Regice, and I decided to spin here, not to let them get extra. They go guard, deal with that. Ultimately, Skarm versus Fori is a lot of 50-50s, especially if there's a Ghost. Seeing Regice, I do assume that there's a Gengar here. Just makes sense. It could be Regice, Skarmory, Gengar, and then most likely would be like Coon, Dugtrio, and Blissey, which is an H-Class team. Actually, there's a Claydol. Isn't there? Is there a Claydol? Red Eye, Skarm, Gengar, Blissey, Coon, and there's enough room for a Claydol, yes. So yeah, I get off a spin, and from here I have, I believe, 2 spikes, so I establish a third, or I can spin again here, just trying to see if I can maybe get a spike for free, and then spin, and then switch, and see how that works out. Or spike, force and roar or whatnot. Just see if I can get a more advantageous position. Here I just spin again. I have my 3 spikes, I believe. I wish this would show, but it won't. And they do that, and then they double back to Skarmory, which is a smart move. What this does is it scouts for a Tyranitar, a Pursuit Tyranitar that's looking to make its way in against Gengar. Also covers Blissey, so if they were a grass move, it would stop them from revealing that. Here I T-Wave, and they roar me out. In comes Tyranitar. So here I've established T-Wave, they have one lever spike, I would like to spin that, I have a Tar, they know I have a Pursuit Tar. It could be inferred, you could know the team. It's pretty much guaranteed unless it's a Boatar with the Crunch, Fire Blast, Focus Punch, or something in that nature. Here, I'm thinking I will go to Rachi, as I don't want to get Toxic, which will help the Gengar. Arguably, I should have just Fire Blasted. They only have 1 spike, and denying another spike would be pretty nice. So if they spike up again, it's fine, I Fire Blast, If they don't, they Toxic me, I Fire Blast, they're forced out, and 2 attacks from another Pokemon will KO it, so that will prevent a 3rd layer of spikes. Pretty much guaranteeing it, while switching out is not really guaranteeing that. So I think I should have just Fire Blasted there. I don't think I was really thinking while doing this. Actually, I might have been. I don't know. I don't always use my timer to think. Sometimes I just decide it's best to make my opponent think I'm thinking, even if I'm not. So here I Fire Punch, I get damage on it, they roar me out to Blissey, so misplay. Turn number 11 is a misplay. Fire Punch it as they roar out my Jirachi, perhaps not wanting me to calm mind, I'm not quite sure. As I get an S-Toss off, and yeah, damage, try to protect it off, and I think they should have spiked there and then maybe try to do that later, not quite sure. Yeah, and here they protect as I switch to Tyranitar. Now, what is the idea behind Tyranitar there? I don't want them to protect and then spike again, yeah. It stops them from protecting that turn, getting leftovers, and then getting another spike. And the 3rd spike is much more threatening than these 2. So I can Fire Blast it to take it out. In comes Flygon. And here I go Salamence. I was a bit torn. Ultimately, I considered countering as it seemed best for Arrow with the EQ, but I thought Toxic was fairly likely there. So I just switched Immense as to not waste my time, but they actually revealed to be a substitute. And they are confirmed faster than Immense. This suggests that there's a Metagross, Jirachi, maybe a Swampert, something else in the back which can help deal with a rock type beyond just the Flygon, because just a substitute Flygon is not going to stave off Aerodactyl as well as you might want it to. Jirachi, I suppose, would make sense, but it's not quite great against DD Tar. CB Metagross can boom Skarm, which is nice for sub Flygon. There's some synergy there. can't be a dog trio because they're a Dactyl. Unless it's in the back with another mon that can resist rock, but that doesn't quite seem feasible. Could be a regular Metagross, maybe like Agility, which is questionable against Skarmory, especially since Skarmory's not Thief or Taunt. There's a Gengar, but that doesn't quite do everything you want it to. So there's that issue, but CB meta is not also that great against DD Tar. You're gonna have to stop setting up with Skarmory, use that plus Flygon, use your Gengar, and boom on Regis or whatnot. But the boom on Regis doesn't stop ADD unless you're faster. I suppose Suicune, something of that nature. But yeah, I get Salamence and Flygon, and I'm not really trying to deal with rock side flinches right now. If they're toxic, it's fine. Or if they're toxic, it's annoying. Going for it covers us all, and it threatens them with Rapid Spin, and ultimately I decide to just pull the trigger and go Tyranitar here on the Gengar, because this ain't no net battle. To stop spin, you have to go Gar. So, pseudo 50-50 here, I just go Tar. Spin is kind of safe. I have a Blissey, which isn't great to send into it. If it's Taunt, I'm just taking down for no reason. Don't quite want to go Rachi, and I definitely don't want to go hard Tar on this Gengar, so ultimately doubling is far better than ultimately not doubling as they go Gengar is quite annoying, and it's not something that I should just play safe around because I have a lead. That being said, clicking Rapid Spin there was not an invalid move, as Tar is a valid move, and perhaps a Q or whatnot. Here fine. Here this timer, I knew I was clicking Pursue. I just wanted to make them think, yeah, I'm gonna switch. Yeah, so that's what it came down to ultimately. Because I don't want to be crunching on a switch. I don't want to be pursuing on a Giga Drain or whatever, but or pursuing on a, yeah, I mean on a Giga Drain wouldn't hurt. I don't want any of that to happen, and I think given this position, given how much HP my Tar is at, given the spikes, I think maybe them switching out might. I think that's about what I expected. I think I expect them to switch here, so I decided whatever, I'll just pursue instead of Crunch. Though Crunch does seem to be quite a safer move, as it deals a lot of damage to whatever you would expect in the back. With these spikes up, Crunch is really going to be hitting hard, and hitting Flygon is good for Arrow. But ultimately, neither Crunch nor Pursuit can be called invalid, I believe. But if you want to lean towards one being safer, I think perhaps that's Crunch. That being said, I also would expect a defensive Gengar here, not one with offensive HP Grass. Pursue, I get 62, and switch out to save a sack. There's no way they Fire Punch. Well, I mean, they could. Fire Punch, technically, on the Jirachi, they're not really going to be wisping, I don't think. But ultimately, I think they're just going to click the straightforward HP Grass. I'm going to go Arrow. Jirachi is a pivot that's less impacted by Will-O-Wisp, perhaps, but more impacted by something like Fire Punch, Will-O-Wisp plus Fire Punch, though it seems to be offensive, so it's going to be HP Grass, Fire Punch, then Ice Punch or T-Bolt and Explosion, or HP Grass, Ice Punch, T-Bolt, and Explosion. Most likely, could be numerous other things. I get Arrow in and I start pressuring them. Looking at this position, I think they're probably going to go into a Steel type. Just makes the most sense to me, or if they don't have a Steel type, perhaps a Suicune. And I don't want to be missing Rock Slides, and I don't want to be doing nothing to Flygon. And yeah, I don't want to be doing nothing to Flygon including Earthquake, so even if I do think, most likely, the Pokemon I expect the most here is Metagross, but Jirachi, other things come in. I wouldn't rule out Flygon, but I felt pretty confident that they wouldn't stay in with Gengar. And furthermore, I would like to draw attention to how weak their team is to Hidden Power Flying. Now, I don't have that. I don't have the safe click of HP Flying. If I had it, I would click it, but with the Skarmory here being the only resist to flying, if this gets magged, Choice Band Salamence could be quite the annoying threat to deal with. And because of that, I think it's most likely going to be Metagross or Jirachi, leaning towards Metagross. So, well, Earthquake would catch that. I didn't feel like risking that, but I did really feel like that they wouldn't stay in with Gengar. At a higher level, you'd be thinking a million things. Or you'd just be considering every possibility, and it's like, yeah, it's kind of 50-50. But here, I mean, it still is kind of a 50-50, but I'm leaning towards them not wanting to keep in Gengar, and they want to go for the move that's accurate and damages Flygon. Don't want to let my foot off the gas, I suppose. Now here, Double Edge, I get damage on Metagross. The Earthquake, I go into here because it's 2 mashes. If they EQ, it's fine. I can not threaten to go into Mance, go into Arrow. I go into Salamence because it's the least prediction-reliant Pokemon, I suppose. I don't want to Rock Slide Flygon. I don't want to Double Edge to Gengar. So if they just EQ again, I'd much rather go into Mance and Arrow, but they elect to go Gengar, which is a smart move, as I switch in my Salamence. And this is going to make me want to switch out. Here I go Jirachi. I believe I could eat 2 Fire Punches, though that's a bit annoying. I didn't want to go Blissey, as Blissey is just such a good Pokemon and it walls so much stuff. I'm not entirely confident in what their last will be. I just want to keep it because it can deal with the most stuff. I don't want to get it exploded on for that reason, but I don't have a great reason for going Blissey. And if their last is something that I do not need Blissey to deal with, I would much rather go into Blissey here than Jirachi to not risk a Fire Punch. I have no accent, by the way. I feel like I'm kind of talking with an accent, but I don't know. Or I guess technically everyone has an accent. I don't know how that works. So I go Jirachi, they Ice Punch, 10% chance to freeze. Fire Punch doesn't KO without a burn or a crit. They elect to explode, which I find quite interesting. I think maybe they were thinking I would go out into Blissey here. Or they thought I might be Wish Calm Mind and they didn't want me to set up a Calm Mind. Or click Wish and then CM. I do have Wish. I did ultimately decide to click Wish here, though if they went hard to Flygon, I would much rather Toxic. And I also considered Fire Punching, but I really didn't want to risk them Fire Punching me with Gengar. And what Fire Punch from myself does is it gives me a chance to burn the Flygon, and if they wanted to fish for hacks with the Gengar on a Toxic, then that would be nice. On a Toxic or a Body Slam. But I have Toxic, not Body Slam. They boom, as I wished. And here out comes Flygon. And here I can go to Mance. I didn't want to risk anything else. There's nothing. Mance is by far my best switch. And here I get a very free Dragon Claw. They go Regice, which will eat a Dragon Claw in any move I can follow up with. Luckily, I can just switch to Jirachi pretty freely. Here there are a few moves to consider. I could wish up my Arrow, or I can just Fire Punch it, put it in range for Salamence. Ultimately, I Fire Punch it to put it in range for Salamence because I believe Double Edge does not kill Regice. And furthermore, well, let me first calc that. Double Edge is doing 46 to 54, so yeah, it's not KOing. And Salamence, they don't have a Salamence switch in, so very nice, very free. Fire Punch would put in Brick range, and the best they can do to follow up is probably go Flygon and click Rock Slide and hope to flinch. Here I get Minson and I click my Brick. and they switch into Moltres. This is interesting. I could Dragon Claw to put in double edge range for arrow, but I'm not quite feeling that, as it opens me up to be locked by the Flygon. All it really needs is to get through Blissey, perhaps with a singular flinch. So I want to give myself the best odds against that and prioritizing that. And because of that, I go out into Tyranitar. Now, I could have also switched out into Fortress. What Tyranitar does here is it also covers Regice. Because if that Moltres did not have a way to 2-hit KO my Blissey with a fire move into Overheat, Flamethrower to Overheat, and it lacked Roar and whatnot, depending on the moveset from Moltres, they might think doubling to Regice to threaten an explosion on Blissey while not taking damage out of Metagross, which will matter for the Aerodactyl double edge. This will give me the ability to outspeed this if I am faster, then pick up a KO rather than let them get a KO with this and then force me to send out a Pokemon first. And me sending out a Pokemon first is not preferable. Yeah, I believe that makes a difference. So out comes Flygon. Get a Crunch off, that's nice. Rock Slide. Just desperately trying to get a switch, and here I see it's in double edge range. I decided to go Arrow instead of Flygon, first of all, because this always KOs, unless they have some random amount of bulk, which was not guaranteed with the calculations I did. It seemed like it would always KO, but then crit odds, it'd be a roll very heavily in my favor, even if it did have some bulk, because it's not going to be maxed out. And if I go Salamence and give them some Rock Slides, I'm giving them the chance to switch, the chance to flinch then, and then that will let their Flygon heal up and then be outside of double edge range. So I get my double edge off. Here I sack my Fori, as it's not valuable, and the most reliable way to KO this Metagross is with Aerodactyl Earthquake, I suppose. Because the Salamence is Fire Blast, I was thinking it's Flamethrower, but I brought Flamethrower Salamence the following game, not this game. Yes, so I don't want to risk that. Here I EQ, then I can switch out to my Salamence. As if the Moltres has HP Ice, this is giving them, so then instead of sacking Arrow or risking Blissey, they have to get more luck if they have HP Ice, and I make this maneuver, as opposed to any other move, which if they don't have HP Ice, it's the same thing as doing this. This might even be a bit better if they aren't HP Ice still, but yeah. Safe switch to Ments, and I click my Dragon Claw, get a crit, doesn't matter. And on to the next game. My thought process here with bringing this team is I brought this team, game 1, and it has a lot of similar Pokemon, so I might be able to convince them that it's the same team for a bit of the game, perhaps, and then get CB Tarin in or something. HP Grass Metagross, I guess, is pretty relevant. Interesting team, a bit weak into Starmie plus Spikes. There you're trying to just blow it up with Metagross very soon. If you recognize there's a Starmie, just try to lure it like that. Though that's quite difficult to do consistently. In fact, it's impossible to do consistently. But in other matchups, it's fine, and I mean, ultimately, Arrow can, with correct predictions, win games anyways. And you have CB-Tar, Metagross, and mixed Ments, so it's not impossible to win if you don't get up your Spikes because of the Starmie on the other team. So, game 2. I switch to Tyranitar, I can't OHKO them, and if I don't want to catch an Ice Beam, and Tyranitar should threaten a lot of the Pokemon that can switch in. You know, I'm thinking Zapdos. Skarmory is not the end of the world. It's not amazing against Gengar, but it's not a bad switch. And I get a Moltres. Ultimately, I decide to Rock Slide here, with the idea being that if they get up a bunch of spikes, it's going to be annoying, and this thing is quite threatening with Will-O-Wisp, and kind of Blissey can be abused. If not, if Blissey is not abused, then not only can Blissey be abused, but it can be doubled on. I can potentially lose my Blissey, and this Moltres can be quite annoying to the rest of my team with the Will-O-Wisp and threatening KOs. And I believe I had another reason. So if this is a Superman team, Pursuit Tara, Moltres, Zapdos, Skarmory, Gengar, and Arrow is how many Pokemon did I list? Flygon, yeah. Or I don't think that team usually runs Gengar, but yeah, if it's a Superman team and they have a Flygon in the back, I am not sure I want to try and go for the route where I click Focus Punch, try to break it out like that. I feel like I'd rather just try to use this Metagross, and then from there use Salamence, and Aerodactyl can work in there, and it can also throw in Flygon, and ultimately I will be forcing switches anyways and get the Focus Punch damage, and also that team will be pretty good preventing spikes going up immediately, and I will ultimately want spikes for a Jirachi and a Tyranitar. So because of that, any early Tyranitar usage with Focus Punch will also go down the drain, and if it's not used early, then it'll go down the drain, because if I get damage on Flygon, it's going to end up healing a bit. It can switch into Skarmory and a double and whatnot, protect, get out of there, and they'll be able to position around it. I don't think that's the most clear explanation of that, but my apologies, I guess. I'm not apologizing for shit, but you know, these are my final hours, and I'm just trying to have a memory live on, man. So, yeah, it's crazy. Ultimately, I decide Rock Slide is the move, and they click in power, they get a crit, and I miss Rock Slide. So here I'm going to switch out into my Blissey, as it's not wise to just sack a Pokemon for no reason. And here I believe I go for Thunder Wave. They're not going to go Flygon. I'm going to probably paralyze a Skarmory here, but actually I see a Swampert, which is interesting. I'm wondering if this is their spin on this team. Is it like Claydol? What's happening here? Are there spikes? Yeah, not quite sure. Fortress makes sense here with Tar, then Part wants that, and then maybe a Jirachi or a Blissey with Wish, and then maybe last like Aerodactyl. So Part comes in on T-Wave, I go Skarm. I mean, I was kind of fearful of a Hydro Pump. I didn't want to go straight to Skarm, but I decided it was much better than if it was off-Pert risking that. I know the old linear team was Cloyster, Tyranitar, Moltres, off-Pert, which has EQ and Focus Punch, which is very scary, and like Gengar. So here I click Spikes. I really wanted to protect, but I decided it wasn't worth it, and here I click Protect. Furry I can deal with Drill Peck, so I just start Drill Pecking it. And out comes Tar, and likely a Pursuit Tart, likely Fire Blast, Thunder, stuff like that. Here I switch straight out into Salamence. If they are a set which lacks move to threaten Skarmory, then, or no, that doesn't quite make sense. Never mind, that train of thought doesn't make sense. But basically I go straight to Mance. If they do have a move to threaten Skarmory, and then they have Ice Beam, they'll probably Fire Blast, anticipating Protect, and then Ice Beam, and if they don't, it's always possible to Ice Beam here, I suppose, though unlikely. Ultimately, I view Salamence as my best switch into this. I have a Metagross, which can possibly force it out, but I don't want it taking damage as I recognize it as a Mon that will be my answer to Swampert later with HP Grass. So I don't want that taking damage. Salamence is a fine switch. It can eat anything but an Ice Beam. And I don't want to keep Skarmory, and switching out immediately is also nice for Dragon Dance. I don't want to have them Dragon Dance and a Protect. That Focus Punch is 18, which I'm going to calc that. I don't remember. To 22, 18.5 is that. But if it's no attack, it's that much to that much. And that's with Adamant. So I don't remember what percentage that said there. I'm not confident whether it's physical or suit, but given it as a 4, it's probably Pursuit, probably no attack. So yeah. And I Brick Break, I get a crit, possibly relevant, I don't know, probably relevant. But in the end, I don't really need Salamence. And here they go Zapdos threatening. I don't want to let 4 just come in, but ultimately I decide I don't want to play any games and then get behind for no reason. I'd much rather just go Blissey and let 4 double in than try to play around the 4 and get T-bolted or whatever for no reason. And I can always just get my spec up with Skarm. Here in comes Pert as Soft Boiled. I don't remember the exact idea behind this. I think I didn't want to get T-bolted there and click any of that, but I didn't want to. That's interesting. I guess I don't want a lot of spikes going up and then getting attacked by special attackers. I'm not quite sure about that. Maybe I could have S-tossed, yeah. Here I S-toss and the EQ. This is complicated. I don't want to go Skarmory on a pump. I don't want to go Metagross on an EQ. I want to get some chip for HP Grass before I go to Metagross. So ultimately I decided to just let this happen. Blissey taking damage isn't the biggest deal. And here I can get a Metagross. And looking at Metagross, more interested in how much it takes than how much Grass does. EQ is doing 51 to 60 and Hydro Pump's doing 34 to 40. And there's also a Hydro Pump miss odds. And there's also crits, to be fair. So yeah, I eat this, I can comfortably deal with that. Possible moves I can make are Moltres, Protect, and Earthquake. I don't think anything else really makes sense. I don't think, Hydro Pump is all too logical. So yeah, that's about what I'm expecting. They don't know I'm Grass. They could be expecting me to EQ or Explode this turn, or potentially Rock Slide. Ultimately, I decided to just straight out HP Grass. Just do it. Don't mess around. I get 77% off, and they crit me to KO with Earthquake. So here I extended in Salamence, and I just want to Dragon Claw. It's it's not looking like they will have a good answer to this. Here comes Moltres, not Zapdos, which is interesting. I could Dragon Claw here, perhaps to double edge it with Arrow later on. And, just put it more in danger of a Drill Peck, 2 Drill Pecks. But it decides not worth it. I just go Tyranitar looking to sack it, I suppose. As I don't... Oh, my Blissey's at 35%. Wow. Wow, okay. Blissey's at 35, so... I think the accent just comes from me, like, talking too much. My voice kind of hurts. I don't know why. But, it does. Yeah, I don't want to go Blissey as it's low. I don't want to go Skarmory. Tyranitar is less valuable. I don't want to go Arrow on a Wisp. I don't want to stay in. I don't want to take an HPI. It's all this. So, ultimately, I just go Tire to suck it. Here I switch an Arrow, thinking they'll just Flamethrower. And wanting to keep the sack. And also a Pokemon that can maybe be valuable against Fori, threatening it after it's threatening to spin, maybe T-Wave into Tar. Here a Rock Slide, I get damage on Fori. I don't want to get Explosioned on or Zap Cannoned on Arrow, so I decide to just go into Salamence, and here I'm thinking, well, I don't think they will stay in, so I Dragon Claw. I don't think Dragon Claw is necessarily an invalid move. I think it's a fine move. I think there are moves in which they can make that, like Moltres, that will maybe give them higher odds of winning on a Flamethrower than a Dragon Claw, in which case that means them going Moltres would be a valid move, which would then mean me clicking Dragon Claw is a valid move. Yeah, but I do think Flamethrowers may be less risky, and it also has a chance to burn maybe an Arrow they have in the back. The Dragon Claw would be doing more. I would be setting up for another Dragon Claw, Drill Pack, stuff like that for later. Double edges from Arrow. It would set me up against their last Arrow if they have that better, I suppose. The team is very interestingly constructed against special attackers. I wouldn't be surprised to see. Yeah, I think I would expect an Arrow here. Zapdos deals with Suicune. Moltres is not that bad there. You can deal with stuff with this, and then Arrow tops it off. I don't think Blissey fits the vibe here. They are a bit weak to Swampert, but Moltres, Zapdos, their own Pert, Fori, are they actually that weak? They could be HP Grass, Focus Punch, Crunch, Pursuit, Tyranitar, which I've run before, or something like that to deal with the Swampert. Here lies my Aerodactyl. This Rock Slide, and they got Wisp. Damn. So here I just slide again. I wasn't sure what the last would be. I thought maybe just Rock Slide, and that's nice. Rock Slide, pick up a KO because they can't switch into it with Zapdos and Arrow or whatever they have in the back. Here goes Skarm. I wonder if it could be Arrow based on the way they play. I don't remember exactly what I was thinking, and I'm not going to analyze for their play and how that affects with the Arrow. Affects that with Arrow, and people can misplay too. Just because they play a certain way doesn't necessarily mean that they don't have a certain Pokemon, even though it makes sense to send that out before. Here's some Skarm. And I see a Leech Seed. I was just trying to Drill Pack it down, I think, if it's CM'd or whatever. It's fine, yeah, I can just pack. I should have spiked there, maybe. Well, if it's 3 attacks, I'd rather pack, I think. here I sack Tyranitar to get in my Blissey. They can't really switch out, because Zapdos will not KO me after the spike, so they switch out into Moltres on a Rock Slide, then the Blissey comes in and heals, and that's nice. And if they switch out Zapdos in on a Rock Slide, the Moltres comes in and then Aerodactyl is there. Out comes Blissey. Oh, just soft again, probably not a T-Wave, cause switch, and yeah. Here goes Scarm, can't keep it in, Peck threatens them. Then goes Zapdos, Peck also gives me leftovers for the Celebi later, I get a nice crit. So here Protect, go back to Blissey. Here I can Ice Beam. T-Wave as they go Zap. I believe I switch out the Skarmory here. They get fully paired. I'm not sure what they clicked. I believe Blissey would 1v1 this even with the Leech recovery. I don't... Well, we can go back. Oh, no, that's fine. Here comes Zapdos in 74% and it recovers. 93 minus 74 would be, what, 19, 29? 19. So it recovers 19%, which means it will be losing 1v1, so they will have to Toxic me eventually to put pressure on. So I don't know if they T-Bolted or Toxic here, but, yeah, I go to Skarm. I gotta call out to Toxic eventually. I just had to call it out here. And I'm still alive. I protect my Skarm. Go back to Blissey. And here I can heal. They can assume they attempt to Toxic there, which is interesting. I don't think it's worth it, but yeah. And here I can Ice Beam again. Critter Freezer would be nice. I believe I T-Wave here. It's in range of 3 attacks, or a crit and attack. Here at S-Toss, I don't want to be wasting Ice Beam PP as it could be valuable, and here they get a Leech Seed off. Here I believe I just switch out to Skarm. They Leech Seed again, they break through full pair. No big deal, I can just go back to Blissey. Or I believe I Spike here. This puts extra pressure on Celebi while I'm trying to Ice Beam it, so... And who knows, maybe they'll Leech again. Yeah, so now here I go back into my Blissey. Here I can Soft. The Leech, go back to Skarm, I turn them with Drill Peck. Bliss, S-Toss, Ice Beam. They get fully paralyzed, and I can S-Toss them again. Here I S-Toss Zapdos. The idea behind this move is I want to recover, but so I can't Ice Beam because I'll KO them. Then they can T-Bolt me, and then they can crit me with Moltres. And then, like, in theory I would still win, but I'd have to hit a Rock Slide. So, yeah, I don't want to Ice Beam and have them die to sand. I don't want to Soft Boil here, get Toxic and then deal with that, so just get attacked and whatnot. And S-Toss lets me do this, then heal, then switch to Skarmory, which will give me the most HP. So that's why I do that. I S-Toss to then Soft Boiled here, then go Skarmory. And then go back into Blissey, I'd imagine. They forfeit, and that's my series in 2 games. This is just the first game. Again, I think. Yeah, it's, I don't know, Pokemon. Starting to regret narrating this. You know, I was feeling a bit bored before I did it, but now I'm just like, But yeah, I narrated it, so go me, I guess. Remember, your best double is yet to come. Just like the people walking up towards me, soon to be my final resting place. I don't know why my microphone is this bad. My other microphone on my school laptop wasn't as bad. It was bad, but not this bad. Yeah. I don't know. Interesting sound effect. I should have ended this like a minute ago.